Hey guys, welcome to the chat show here on Buzzin Pattaya. And firstly, I want to say thank you very much to all of you that have sent in your questions. There have been some great questions this week. We've got some really interesting topics to talk about, which is good fun. I'm looking forward to that. Before we get into that, guys, if you haven't already, check out our Discord group. We've got 2,700 odd members on there now. It really is going guns ablaze. And also, if you haven't had a look, have a look at our members area. There's more and more members joining now, and we've got lots more things coming to you. All right, so it's a lovely hot day today, and obviously I'm on the balcony in my condo because I don't really want to walk around the streets under the current situation we're in, and I thought it just makes sense to sit up here. Plus the fact nowhere's open anyway, so I can't exactly sit in a restaurant or a bar or something and say, hey guys, check out this place. So there you go, what a situation we're in. All right, so today's questions. What about non-bar girls? Do they desire children? Buying prescription drugs. What happens, or how do you find a Thai girl if she disappears with your child? What about the marriage? If you can pay for the marriage but you can't afford a dowry. And also, what things do Thai girls do that makes you laugh? And yeah, great questions, guys. So thank you very much. And incidentally, if you would like to send in a question for us to chat about here, please drop an email 247pattaya@gmail.com and I will do my best to answer them. And let's see how many little penises we have today out on the road behind me. There you go, he's having a semi. All right, first question then. Do non-bar girls desire children? And it's a really good question because you may or may not be aware, but Thai families are very, very big over here in terms of the fact that most people have a big Thai family. It's very unusual. Normally, you know, when you go up to the village, this is my brother's brothers, uncles, sisters, nephew, niece, and all that kind of stuff. So invariably there are a lot of offspring, and so yeah, in fairness to the girls, they do tend to enjoy having children. And I think a lot of it as well is it's quite customary here for a Thai girl to have a child and palm the child. I don't say palm it, but you know what I'm saying. But the mum and dad look after the baby. Whereas obviously, you know, like from me in England, you know, once your children have their children, it's like, jog on, sweet cheeks, I've done my bit, you know, welcome to the real world. But here they tend to pass them off to grandma, granddad, and you know, their mums and dads look after them, and great grandfathers and great grandmothers, and normally like a sister will look after them. They're very, I'm trying to think of the best word. They're quite happy to say to somebody in the family, can you take care of my baby today? And like when I go back to the village, for instance, like there's 2 or 3 young little babies up there, and they're often being passed around from member to member to member, and they take care of them while the baby's mother goes off to work. So do they desire children? I don't know that necessarily they go out and desire children. I think they end up having a lot of babies because, in all fairness, the sex education system here is pretty much zero. Quite often there's very little responsibility in terms of if a girl has a baby, generally speaking, the lad can do one if he wants, and there's not really any recourse of his actions. So I kind of think it's almost like the normality. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, Thai girl, she's got a baby, yeah, it's the norm, you know. So I wouldn't necessarily say they desire children, but I would totally say they're not against having children. And unlike, as I say, back in the, you know, the Western world, if you do fall into that situation where you do have a baby, and maybe you're thinking, oh man, you know, it was a, dare I say the word, it was a mistake or an error in my judgment, and I don't really want to be tied down with a child at whatever age you may or may not be. Don't lose hope, because you know it is quite acceptable for them to allow the child to be taken care of by family members. So hopefully that kind of gives you an indication as to, you know, some may want children. I mean, if they don't have children, some will want that. So you need to clarify that if you are considering a long-term relationship, particularly if there's perhaps an age difference. You know, just have your cards on the table. It's better to be the cards on the table now than later on, especially if you think, you know, everything's all good, and suddenly she says, guess what, darling, it's positive, and you're like, oh yeah, thanks for that. So, you know, just put your cards on the table, guys. But I wouldn't say it's anything really to worry about if you were to fall into that situation. Question I've been asked here is it easy to buy prescription drugs here? So I would say to you the answer is yes, very, very easy. But before I get into the nuts and bolts of this one, what I would say to you is this: Please be very careful where you purchase your prescription drugs. I personally, for prescription drugs that you have to have correct, so like you might be on medication back wherever you're coming from, go to a hospital or go to an approved pharmacist. Because, and when I say an approved pharmacist, normally they're a pharmacy within a doctor's surgery. The reason I say that is because if it's a prescription drug, chances are it has to be 100%, if you know what I'm coming from. Like if you was to go into a side street, maybe the box looks the same and that's where it ends. So just be very, very cautious about the source that you are using to buy your prescription drugs. For the sake of your safety and your well-being, personally, I would take you to, you know, Bangkok Pattaya Hospital, or you know, some of the big hospitals, and get the prescription drugs there. Yes, you're going to pay a little bit more than if you went down a side street, but guys, can you really take that risk? You know, that's my opinion. If my mother was here and she needed a prescription drug, 100% I would take her to the big hospital, purely and only because you know that what you're getting is what you're needing and not what it looks like, but maybe different inside, if you catch my drift. Another question is about dental care and opticians. Dental care, I don't really want to talk about for obvious reasons. Ka-ching! What was that smile? Colgate, wasn't it? Colgate with a little ding! They never did ring me up, I don't know why. But anyway, dentists, there are so many. You know, if you go down towards Tukkom and you go around Pattaya Dai area, South Pattaya Road, then yep, you will find loads and loads and loads of dentists, and very, very good dentists. You will be paying for it, but from what I gather, and guys, if you've had a good experience with a dental, please, you know, drop a comment below. What I gather is that they are very good and they are very well priced in comparison to some places around the world. Regarding opticians, I have an eyesight issue, so I used to wear contact lenses, and I've got to say they were always very good, very cheap compared to back in the UK, and very thorough. You know, I never had any real issues. And if you drive around, you know, you'll always see the blue sign, it's the optician sign. You'll see that dotted all around the place. There are some good ones on Soi Siam country if you want to get a taxi out of the town centre and go along there, but by where the market is, there's a good opticians there. But in general, you know, there are a lot of places there where you can get opticians and get your eyes tested and get prescription glasses and all those kind of things. Dare I say, you can even go to some of the bigger markets here and there are opticians there. So, you know, be warned on, well, not warned, but you know, just use your own discretion as to whether or not you think that's a good idea or a bad idea. And also, you can go into a lot of supermarkets and market stalls and you will find people selling glasses there with the plus 0.25 or minus 0.01, whatever, you know, whatever the range are. Just, you know, just be a bit careful, because they may do long-term damage more than you realise, particularly if they're slightly out. Some dude's playing music over there, what's that about? Anyway, so yeah, so just be very careful about those, because you may well come unstuck. All right, the question I've been asked here is, how can you find a Thai girl if she disappears with your child? Now, I know earlier on we were talking about having babies and about how it's not the be all and end all of the world, but you know, if you're like myself, and I'm sure many of us are, you know, if you do bring a child into the world, well then naturally you want to be part of that child's life, and I totally get that. However, you are over here very, very vulnerable. Okay, I'm not going to lie to you, you are very, very vulnerable, because if your relationship, let's just say it's based in a Pattaya area, it goes wrong and the girl suddenly decides when you're out one day playing golf or whatever you may be doing to clear out and clear off, it's a tough one, guys. It's a tough one, because you know, they could be anywhere, and let's be honest with you, there's no accountability. So don't forget, unlike back in the UK, like I was mentioning earlier about if a boy gets a girl pregnant and she has a baby, he's got responsibilities. You know, boy and girl, if a man gets a woman pregnant, let's go down that road. But if a man gets a girl pregnant, oh, said it again, if a man gets a woman pregnant and produces a baby, the chances are, you know, there are systems in place that they can pursue you via your national insurance number, via your work ethics, etc., and try and track you down. Here it's a whole different ball game, so don't kid yourself. In terms of how would you go, I gave this a lot of thought really, because I thought to myself, well, what would I do? Well, I guess the first thing is to figure out where you met her. And let's be honest, okay, if you met her in a bar, okay, you've met her in a bar, it happens. Or you might have met her in a place of work. Now, if you've met her in a place of work, they 9 times out of 10 will have a copy of her ID card. Doesn't mean you're going to get very far, but at least it means you've got her actual name and you will have her ID. What I would do is, if you were talking about a bar girl relationship where you fathered a child, I would get a friend, not you, a friend, to go in with a photo of her, start talking to another girl, befriend her, etc., and say, oh, by the way, I knew this girl used to work here, and show her the picture. Say, oh, I don't suppose you know, is she still working here? Now she might say, oh no, now she live in Udon, or she live in Konkan. I mean, you're still looking for a needle in a haystack, but at least you're going to get the area where you think that she may have gone to. Likewise, if you've been up to the village in the past, well then obviously that's the place to go. But she may well have moved out of the village. She might be off on a jolly somewhere. She may even, as horrible as this sounds, she may even have another person. You know, I'm sorry, but it happens here. And I know it's probably not what you want to think or hear, but it happens. So what I would suggest you do is don't be yourself. Go in with a friend, get your friend to go into the bar and just get friendly with the girls and say, oh, by the way, you know, I remember this girl used to work here. Does she work here anymore? They might turn and say, oh yeah, she come in later. It might just be the way. You might strike lucky. If you don't, then there are private detective agencies here in Pattaya and in Thailand that you could engage their services and try and get them to figure out where she is. Again, this is the whole point about going in and getting a copy of the ID card if you don't have that already. So, you know, it is possible. It's not going to be easy, and you may end up spending a lot of money and not get the result you want, which is awful. I appreciate that, because, you know, if you're spending the time to go and find the lady who's got your baby, well, then the chances are you want to be a good father. So it is going to be an emotional journey, but in all fairness, you know, stick at it, keep at it, ask around, keep asking. Remember, money talks. So if you do find a girl who says, oh yeah, she lives up in Korat. Oh, okay, really? And do you know where in Korat? Oh, I think I know. Well, how about I take you up there and you ask around for me and you find her for me, and I'll give you 5,000 baht. Trust me, she'll be on the next seat in the taxi with you, going to wherever it is you're going to go to find your loved one with the baby. So, you know, don't be frightened to put your hand in your pocket and just, you know, do the best you can. Now, this is a good one. So the question is, what if a guy can pay for the marriage, but he can't afford the dowry? What does he do? Now, you might not know what a dowry is. So the dowry is coming as a sinsod. Okay, so basically what it is a way of the family showcasing that their daughter has met a man of means, financial means, and that basically you're going to be taken care of and live happily ever after. The dowries range from about 100,000 upwards, you know, average of like sort of 300,000, and they can go up into a lot higher, you know, depending on your status as a male and your status in the public eye. You might be a very well-to-do person, well then you're going to be paying, trust me. But the question is, what if you can't afford to pay? So you might have enough money to rustle up a marriage, but you don't have enough money for the dowry. It's not uncommon for you to produce some money just for the sake of saving face. So basically you'll put 200 grand on the table for mum and pop. They'll showcase it. Yeah, look, my daughter's married into a really good guy. He's financially stable. He can support us. And they will give you that money back behind closed doors. Unfortunately, a lot of the things that you see here in Thailand are all about face value. It's the perception of how do you appear to other people in their village and other people in their family. So for you to knock a couple of 100 grand on the table as well as paying for the marriage, it's going to be expected. If you can't afford it, it's better to be honest and just say, look, I don't have that kind of money. What about if I rustle up some money and then you give it back to me afterwards? I would say be very careful, because, you know, yeah, of course, like no worries, and then suddenly, oh, well, mum just had to borrow some, or you know, I'm just being upfront with you guys. It may not be as crystal clear as perhaps you originally thought. If you can't, I mean, also as well, don't forget the value of the sinsod, the value of the dowry is dependent on whether or not the girl's been married before. Obviously, you know, it's like, I want to say like a second-hand car. That's terrible. That's awful. That's awful. But if you buy a brand new car, you're going to pay brand new prices. If you're paying for a, I'm sorry. I'm laughing because I think you idiot. But anyway, you know what I'm trying to say. So if the girl's already been married before, maybe your dowry won't be of a higher value. If she's already had a child and she's not a virgin, well then maybe your dowry will be a bit lesser. And these are realistic things that they will look at and will consider when accumulating the value of what they believe to be your dowry. So, but you know, if you can't afford it, listen guys, if you can't afford it, just tell her. You know, if she loves you, then they'll figure out a way of doing it. If she doesn't love you and it really is about the money, well, you're going to get an early warning sign, so welcome. Okay, the last one. I've left this one to last. This one cracked me up. What are some of the things that the Thai girls do that I think are funny? Well, I think the one thing that really does crack me up all the time is they are just brutal, absolutely brutal in the way they talk to people. And what I'm saying is like this. They think nothing of highlighting a possible physical attribute you may or may not have. So for argument's sake, if you're quite big, they will call you Owen, and they will think nothing of it. Oh, Owen, Owen, fatty, come here. And the person they're calling Owen just accepts it. It's like, yeah, it's no dramas because I'm fat. Now, obviously, you know, you go back to the UK, if I walked into the bar and said, oh, fatty, come here. Number one, I think I'm talking to myself, and number two, I would just never do it. It's unheard of, isn't it? You know what I mean? You might have a bit of a leg pull with your mate. Oh, look, you need to lose a few kilos, but they are brutal out here. And without naming names, I've got a very good friend of mine. He's a brilliant guy, lovely guy, but he is very, very big. And we used to go into bars, and he'd sit down in the chair, and he was a big guy. You know, he really was a big guy. And the girls would come up, and they'd rub his belly, and they'd say, oh, how many baby you have? And he used to hit the roof. That's it, drink up, I'm going bloody stupid, how can a man have a baby? But they were just being playful because that's just their nature. So they would say to him, you know, oh, how many babies have you got in there? And to be fair, he could probably squeeze 2 or 3 in. And if you're watching, my man, you know I love you really, I'm only joking. But the point was, to them that's quite funny. And like, you know, they would think nothing of like walking up to each other and like squeezing each other's boobs if they're girls, or you know, even if a bloke's got big boobs, oh nom yai, you know, and they will think nothing of just highlighting any physical feature that they think you need to be told about. And especially when you go back up into the villages, when you go up there, a lot of the girls have hairy legs. I've loved today's chat, it's been brilliant, made me giggle. But a lot of girls have hairy legs and they don't shave them. So then you'll hear the word ling, which is monkey, and you'll say, oh, ling, come in. And I'm like, what are you on about, monkey? And I'm looking down, there's a girl there, she's got the hairy legs. And of course, a lot of Thai girls have black hair, so it's quite visible. And I'm thinking, oh man, did you just say that? Like, really? Did you really just say that? It's awful. But they do it. So that's one of the things that I think, in all fairness, I think it's quite funny. I giggle about it. I do cringe inside myself when I think to myself, flipping hell, did you just say that? But I also do think it's quite funny. And I think it's quite nice that they're so relaxed in the way they are with each other, because let's be honest, if someone was back in a bar or in your hometown and said, all right, fatty, it ain't going to go down too well, is it? You're going to think, you know, hello, big nose. What are you calling big nose? Do you know what I mean? You would do. You would react like that. Well, I believe you would. Maybe I'm wrong, but it does make me laugh, and I think, flip it now, like, did you get away with that? But out here, it's just the norm. It really is. And also, I think what's funny is that they're very happy to touch each other. You know, you'll see a girl walk past and she'll squeeze another girl's bum or another girl's boobs or whatever. They think nothing of it. They're a very open culture here. It's a very open culture. So there you go. All right, guys. So hopefully you've enjoyed this chat today. So just to summarise, do non-bar girls desire children? Pretty much, yeah. You know, Thais are very fond of having families and families around them, and they're big on their families, so quite possible. More yes than more no, let's say that way. Can you buy prescription drugs? Yes, you can, but buy them from the hospitals. Get them as an official source rather than down a side street, because you may see the box looks the same, but that's maybe where the similarities end, and you could end up in a bit of problems. Dental care and opticians, yep, definitely, they're all out there. Go check them out, but just be very wary, especially with your eyes, if you're going to go down into a market stall, because the lens may say 0 point plus whatever, but it might not be quite as accurate as you perceive. How to find a bar girl if she disappears with your baby. Get someone else to go into the bar, show them a picture and just say, oh, well, I remember this girl, you know, did she work here? And try and do it that way. Don't go in yourself, because clearly all the girls will just pull down the shutters and go, no, 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 don't know, don't know. So, you know, use a decoy, and maybe consider using some of these private investigation agencies out there. Or go down to Soy 9, go down to the police station, see what they can do. You're probably not going to get very far, but it's worth a go. What if a guy can pay the marriage, but he can't pay the dowry? Borrow the money and just make sure that whatever you do, you get your money back. And, you know, think about it logically. It's a negotiation, right? You know, if she's been married and she's got kids, well, then you're not going to pay as if she's never been married and doesn't have any children. Do you know what I'm saying? And what do Thais do that are funny? Well, I just like the way they're very descriptive. Oi, fatty with a big nose and hairy legs, come here. I think that's brilliant. And when you come over, they give you a cheeky squeeze. What's that all about? All right, guys, so that's it for today's chat show. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Please remember, if you do have a question you want me to answer, drop me an email, 247pattaya@gmail.com. I will definitely put it on the list and I will answer each and every one as I can. Guys, if you haven't already, check out our Discord group. There's 2,700 plus people on there now, growing from strength to strength every single day. Join our members area. There's more and more members on there, and there's lots more benefits, and I'm just going to leg it over there and shoot that guy's banging that steel bar. And you know, jump on our members area. It'd be great to see you over there, guys, and please hit the subscribe button and also the bell icon. All right, that's it for me. Thank you very much for watching, and please, as always, wherever you are in the world, stay safe.